All right, let's go over Cloudflare real quick. That's net, ticker symbol NET, Cloudflare. Okay, so if we go back and we look at what we've been talking about here, these are the levels we want to watch for entries and exits. If you lose a level, then you want to look to the next level below for support, try to get a bounce off of it. As we had this laid out, coming into this week basically, and last week, even as we were setting this up, we told you these different levels to pay attention to for entries and exits. And if you've been watching, then you've been picking up on this, paying attention to these entries and these exits. Cloudflare is getting ready to have an earnings report on November 3rd. I personally think that we'll see sort of a buy the rumor, sell the news run up into that, at least, possibly a little bit. And there's a good chance they could possibly even surprise people with their earnings report and then maybe get a run in the after hours or maybe even a day or two after the report. But even with a good report, unless you've got a longer term horizon and you want to hold something for a year or two or 6 or 18 months or 3 to 5 years, then these are all great buying points. And just look for the lower levels. And every time you hit one, buy more. And once we reverse trend, then you can pay attention to the levels to continue buying on the dips as you go forward. But as of right now, we're still in a bear market. We're still in a downward trend and we're still making lower lows overall. I'm just telling you the pops to look for because nothing moves in a linear fashion. Stock markets are not just up and they're not just down. They, trend like a wave, almost like an ocean. It's just the direction of that wave is typically up or typically down. It can be sideways and just chopping, but that's not where we're at right now. We are actually in a downward trend. We continue to make lower highs and lower lows, and everything is going downward. So as of right now, if you're trying to scalp play this or you're trying to do short-term trades, I try to show you where the bottoms are per weekly, per daily, per monthly, those kind of ideas to look for. And then you can sell towards the top, but not with the idea that it's just going to keep going forever. We have no bottom in to start going back to whatever, our value levels are at a higher level. As of right now, we're in a downward trend and we're continuing to track it. And basically, the entry points are the lower parts of that trend and then waiting for the pop. You can call it a relief rally, you can call it whatever you want. But once again, nothing goes just one way. So when you hit a certain bottom, then you're going to come back and hit up a certain point of resistance above you. What I'm trying to do is give you the plays on that in between so you can make 1 or 2 trades a week or 3 to 5 trades a week or at least a couple trades a month into the profit versus just buying as it's falling and never profiting, only seeing the negative. But you're like, well, I have high conviction. This is how investing works. It's not how it has to work. You can make money in between, even when it's crashing. And you can make money both ways if you learn to short and, sell things both ways. But even without getting into all that complicated stuff, even with just saying, I like to buy low, I like to sell high, and I'm willing to invest for the future. Well, that's fine. As you get the really low lows and you buy a little bit more than you need, when you get those pops, you can sell some of it, make some profits. And because you have a longer term horizon, you want to own this stock, then when it pulls back even more, you have more money to buy it off of the money you made off of the stock. So that going forward later in life, you'll have a larger and more important position. So your gains later will be greater. Your overall success later will be greater playing these levels, the way they are. And even if you're like, you know what, I'll never trade it. I just want to buy and I'm going to wait till later till it's worth way more money. I'm not selling till everything's back to 150 or, whatever your number is in your head. I'm not selling till everything's back to 90 or I double my money or whatever it is. That's fine. But if you're going to be buying, then don't just buy because it's whatever your buying day is. If you're like, oh, I get paid every Monday, or I get paid every Friday, my check clears on Monday, so then I just buy an extra $100 and I just keep doing that. Well, take your money on Monday and check to see if you're at a lower band where I'm telling you to buy and then buy. If not, and you're up at the top and I'm telling you to take profits, don't buy when I'm telling people to sell and take profits. Wait, a few hours, a few moments, a day or two, whatever, until I tell you that it's back down. Or you're watching and you're saying, oh, these are the levels he says to watch to, and at least buy when you get to one of those lower support levels. Don't be buying at the top all the time. And getting the least for your money. Basically, make your investment go as far as you possibly can and get the most out of it. That's what you need to do to have some sort of success at this, and to feel some sort of financial security later, to not just be buying blindly. Try to buy the lows so that you get the greatest gains later. So moving forward for this week, and also with what's going on right now, we're losing the level of support we are trying to hold at 52.50. Basically, you can call it 52.25 at the lower end of the line, but we're really trying to hold this like 52.45, 52.50 kind of range to continue building momentum from there into the $53 plus. Right now, we're losing that. So, what I'm expecting as you play this level by level, same way I tell you guys, you can maybe find support right here in the middle of this level because of this right here. This is where back here a couple days ago, before we shot up and just literally didn't even print candles in between, it came up with so much force. This was the level that it was pushing down at before it turned green and went up with all that momentum. This could very well play out to do the same thing again right here. But if it starts to push below it, don't worry about what's going on right here. Sorry, my day started at like 3 a.m. So don't worry about what's going on right in here. Wait until at like the 51.50. Wait until you drop all the way down here to $50 and like $50.75, something like that, and actually start to show support on this. Also, don't go all in, and understand that if you lose this level, then go ahead and look all the way down here and get an even better buy at $48 or something like that. As of this very moment, I myself have been reloading up on my position. I posted about that yesterday at the closing and said that's what I'd be doing. I sold a lot of things Monday into the after hours. And then Tuesday morning, I sold some things pre market when it popped, then started reloading back up, trimmed a little bit, but just it wasn't enough profits right here. So I just plan on waiting to load back up more, as I told you guys. Started loading up in these ranges, but noticed that I thought we might get a breakdown. And then we're getting the breakdown. So, like I said, you could possibly bounce from this level, but it's starting to look like it's going to print a candle going lower. I stepped in and bought just a couple of shares in this area, just to dollar cost average my position down. But I'll really be looking to buy here in the next, 15 minutes to an hour and a half or so is what it's kind of looking like, even if we start to print right here and we can figure out what's going to happen and if we can get these buys around $50.80. You want to maximize your profits, you want to maximize your gains, and you want to minimize your risk. That's what these levels are about. They're about showing you where to pay attention to price points and not just be buying randomly, or not just be buying because your chart says that you're negative, so you buy when it's red and you sell when it's green. That's a great idea, but get the most of the buying when it's red and get the most of the selling when it's green. When it's green, don't just sell because it's green. Say, okay, what price am I at? Jump back over, look at some charts that someone like me has laid out for you and say, hey, we're actually already printed. Say if all of a sudden you jump in and you were buying down here, and then all of a sudden you go to look and you're in the green and you want to sell, and you're at $53.09, and you've already printed a bunch of candles that look really good as support on here, and now you're starting to run. Well, don't just sell in the middle. Know that you most likely are going to keep printing until at least up to this range. So instead of selling at 53.50, sell at 54.75, 54.80, or even front run the sell then and just take one more dollar and sell at 54.50. Just try to maximize your gains as much as possible and look for these plays. Things make sense. Technical analysis does work, regardless of people trying to tell you it doesn't, or especially with crypto it doesn't. Really, go back and look at how well Bitcoin is following the S&P, and even more closely the tech ETF. Then tell me that Ethereum's not doing something on a chart very similar to Bitcoin, and then tell me the rest of the coins ain't doing the same thing as Bitcoin and Ethereum both. So if you can watch the S&P 500 and know what to do with your stocks, and then play that into your crypto, you can basically make your plays for crypto as well as most any other stock you have based off of what the SPY is doing, what the SPX is doing, what the NASDAQ is doing. And this gives you the playbook. I mean, just so much more insight that you have to have instead of just trading blindly and having no idea where you're going and buying in the middle of the meat of everything and just really killing your possible gains. You really want to maximize as much as you can with the profits, not just be buying and selling at random with no insight at all. It's fine if you don't chart or you don't have time to chart. At least follow somebody that you can get information that is broad spectrum so you can apply it to whatever it is that you're trying to trade. And I continue to tell people, if you hit me up in the comments and you let me know what it is you're trying to trade, I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to, make you a specific chart, make you a specific video even, and go into depth on giving you some insight to try to help you, just to try to help out the average person to find some financial success and some financial security in these troubling times. If you look at where the stock market is at right now, and if you don't understand those things, that's fine. Let me tell you a little bit about that. We're basically touching trend lines, and we've come down so far into these trend lines with the entire equities markets, the S&P, the Nasdaq, all of it, that we're at lows that have only been seen a handful of times since 1920. So if this is one of the 5 or 10 best buying times in the last 50 or 80 years, then why not be buying? Why not be figuring out where you want your levels and to load up now? Because this is the time where you get more involved and you take more action with your future. And this time, might last. This bear market, this recession might turn into a depression. So educating yourself now on what these levels are and having realistic expectations and continuing to build positions from now until 6 or 18 or 24 months, however long it takes to flip this. But also know that markets can change fast. We could all of a sudden get a new narrative coming into next year, and all of a sudden the war is over and inflation, they're going to stop raising it and everything's looking great. These things will instantly bounce back to these old trends, and they'll make $5 and $10 and $25 moves over the course of a few days, and you'll never get a chance to jump in and be like, oh man, I wanted that. I was watching these levels and I was at $50 and waiting for 49 or 48. It's going to instantly be back to 60, then 70, then 80. Then, this stock, can jump back to 100 with momentum, really, really fast. The other thing to pay attention to if you're trading this exact stock, if you're trading Cloudflare NET, is, I think I mentioned this before, we have earnings coming up on November 3rd. And there's a very good chance that in the week coming up to that, we will get at least some sort of fake rally pump just to get everybody involved. And then if earnings come out strong, it could continue to pump afterwards. You might even get all the way up into these areas up here. These are the ones to really watch for, where you've got the hammers and where you've got the green lines to take your money. These are your profits you want to be really paying attention to. If you're loading up right now, we start to get some momentum, then you want to start really paying attention to taking profits at 54.50, and then you can wait all the way till 57.75 range. And if you get over the 54, you don't have to be like, oh, we're over the 54 now I have to take it at 55.56. If we start actually printing candles and it's not just a wick up into this area, then you start looking to this level and then this level. You also look left and you see there's gaps that need to be filled, and this could be the time to fill them. These could push all the way up here just to fill these gaps, then nuke back down. Not even barely test on this, push right back through with so much momentum. That's the kind of things that stock markets do. They like to do whatever is the the path of the most pain. If we're going to continue to get sell-off pressure and the S&P can't hold right now, or if coming in tomorrow we get more pressure, you can do something like either go straight down to bounce here, come up, bounce and come down, or if coming in tomorrow we get a rise pre-market but then a sell-off and it comes down and it's got force, it just goes right through. I do expect to see some sort of bounce in one of these first two levels, come back up and try to retest these, and then gauge where the market's going. I'll let you know what the S&P is doing. I'll say, hey, the S&P is actually pulling back now, and then you'll know that opens this up for, further downtrend, and that you should watch for maybe if you get a bounce in here when you come back down to lose this next level and come into here and really try to turn this 45 range into support before then when the stock market makes its next move back. Because like I said, you're moving like this. So if we get to where the S&P is coming back down and all these things come down, that might take a few days, it might take a week, might take 2 weeks, maybe a month. But then when it starts to trend back up to the resistance line again, this thing will blast out of here with force, and you will instantly make that money back so much faster. The other thing is really watch these next levels as you get up into them. That's why the hammers are even bigger, and that's why you need to pay even more attention. Is if you start to come up into here and you're just wicking into this, take profits immediately before it comes down. If you come up into here strong like this, almost towards the next one, and when you come down, it grabs support immediately and starts bouncing like this, well, now you're good. You can even be loading up heavier on these most likely, because then you're going to at least come up and push to here before rejection. And this is where you sell. If you wake up and we do what we've been doing lately when things start to go good, and also because like I said, we've got earnings coming in, people are going to pump this, even the institutions will step in with real money, and all of a sudden this just blasts straight through here up into here. Don't be like, oh, this guy's an idiot, it's going back to 100 right now for sure. Once again, pay attention to the levels. Does it even come up and touch this, or does it just start bouncing here and losing momentum and making lower? I'm like pointing at the screen and you can't see it. Pointing to right here. Are you making lower highs, lower highs, lower highs? And pay attention to if it's compressing and maybe going to come back down. Is it putting wicks through this channel and trying to, break through it? Or is it just showing perfect support? And even though it's making lower highs, it's starting to compress, and then boom, it's going to come up here and finally test this. Then once again, same thing. Pay attention to the levels. Is it just wicking through here, or is it really holding something through here? But most likely we get up to these levels, that's just to fill these gaps. And if we get past this one, and we're going to come up into this area, which I feel this was already filled right here, but let's just say we're going to come up here, then, really start paying attention to aggressive profit taking by $80. If you're, the super bull case scenario and you're like, this guy's tripping, this is going right now, we're sending it, expect major, major resistance at $80. Like, just take this hammer and just plan on it pushing you back down real fast. All right, you guys, I think that's about enough for that video. Got a few more to try to get out. Hope that wasn't too confusing. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any other questions or is there anything I can help you out with. But remember, the most important thing I think to pay attention to right now with this stock is 11/3. You have earnings, and I really think we're going to at least get a fake pump run up into earnings. There's also a very good chance this company could beat and then run further in the after hours or even in the 1 to 3 days after. But don't plan on it lasting too much longer than that before a pullback in. You should be aggressively taking profits in those zones.